Good evening, Minister. I would like to welcome new members, guests, and friends to our virtual Gold Medals Awards ceremony. Every year, the Academy awards gold medals to two world-class researchers in Ireland whose work has made and continues to make a global impact. These medals are sponsored by the HEA, and I want to thank them for their support. The Academy Gold Medals demonstrate the Academy's core purpose to promote awareness of how science and humanities enrich our lives and benefit society. In addition to its work in Ireland, North and South, and to its UK linkages, our members make significant contributions to the European Federation of Academies of Sciences and Humanities. These academies represent more than 50 from over 40 countries in Europe, and our members currently hold the roles of Vice President, Chair of the Permanent Working Group on Ethics, and they play leading roles in science, education, and humanities. I'd like to tell you, Minister, that there is no other national academy that is so heavily involved, and it is something that the RIA is proud of. Our two gold medalists this evening are Professor Mary E.Daly and Professor Daniel Bradley, and they have, through their work, made significant contributions to the humanities and sciences. I want to welcome Professor Daly and Professor Bradley, their families, colleagues, and friends to this evening's ceremony. And I would like to take this opportunity to wish them both continued success in their careers. I will also like to welcome our Humanities Secretary, Professor Dan Carey, and our Science Secretary, Professor Catherine Godson. Public recognition of excellence, such as today's medals, is of great importance, and we really welcome that you, Minister, are here to mark that with us. I now invite you to speak, and I pass the floor to you, Minister Simon Harris, for your keynote address.
Thank you so much, President. It's a great honor to be here with you, Dr. Canning, and thank you very much for the invitation to speak with you this evening. I only wish we were together in person, though in due course, no doubt we will, because this is a really special event in the calendar every year where we come together to recognize brilliance, to recognize excellence, and to acknowledge the contribution and the outstanding work of two outstanding academics. And I am delighted and honored and humbled to be a part of this ceremony this evening for the awarding of the gold medal to Professor Mary Daly of UCD, who has won the Royal Irish Academy Gold Medal in the Humanities, and to Professor Dan Bradley of Trinity College, who has won the Royal Irish Academy Gold Medal in Life Sciences. I think it's fair to say that both of these medalists demonstrate in a very compelling way how research impacts on our lives and how research benefits our society. And I actually think that's one of our great challenges as a country and as a research ecosystem, is to really get that message out there about how research is not an abstract thing that happens over there. Good research, quality research, actually has a very beneficial impact on our lives, on society, on the economy, on our well-being. And I think that's what we're seeing with both the work of Professor Daly and Professor Bradley. Ireland should be proud, and indeed I'm sure is proud, of the world-renowned work carried out in our country by these two academics. I think it's particularly special, and I'm sure it is for both Mary and Dan, that you as recipients of the awards, you've been judged by your peers. I think there's always something particularly special if you're receiving an award from your peers, from your colleagues, in recognition of your outstanding contribution and the understanding of your respective fields. Turn to Professor Daly first. Mary has delivered transformative impact as a historian, as a path-breaking scholarly leader, and as a contributor to Irish public policy and to public understanding. Through her scholarly work, she has broadened the account of Ireland's past from a traditional focus on politics, on nationalism, unionism, and Anglo-Irish relations to encompass perhaps a much wider range of socio-economic topics, including industrial development, housing, local government, agriculture, demographic topics, women's history, and indeed a history of childhood. Her pioneering 1984 book, Dublin, the Deposed Capital, A Social and Economic History, was the first major work on the urban history of the 19th century Ireland. And many pioneering works have since been published in which Professor Daly has shown the value of history for understanding the past and at the same time, crucially, informing contemporary policy and public discourse. In relation to Dan, Professor Bradley holds a chair in population genetics at Trinity College Dublin, and his research group was one of the first to use molecular techniques to study diversity, adaptation and biogeography in both human and domestic animal populations. He has also initiated and led the study of ancient DNA in Ireland, which is revolutionizing our understanding of prehistory in Europe and across the globe. During the last 30 years, Professor Bradley has built an international reputation as a pioneer and a thought leader in these fields. He's also been adept at translating fundamental population genetics research into practical application. He is the co-founder of the TCD Identigen Spinout, a world-leading animal genomics company based here in Ireland. So I sincerely want to congratulate both Dan and Mary and Dan on this major achievement in their career and this recognition from your peers and from this academy of your outstanding contribution to Irish research in your fields. A massive congratulations, Cohortigus, to both of you. I want to just maybe take the opportunity of this event to briefly comment on the role of the Academy, because I believe the Academy plays a really important role on the island of Ireland, on all parts of the island of Ireland. The work of the Academy's Higher Education Futures Task Force, which has brought together academics, researchers and experts from a wide section of higher education across the islands, is of particular interest to me, as you can imagine, and indeed is very timely. I know the task force is considering how higher education can flourish in a sustainable way and position itself to meet changing societal needs and challenges, addressing the future development of higher education policy and practice on the island of Ireland. As we know, the pandemic has offered all involved in higher education an opportunity to reconsider and reflect on what is valuable and distinctive about the university and campus experience, and what is needed to deliver an internationally competitive and a responsive higher education sector across the island. I really look forward to receiving the task force findings on these important issues in due course. And I must say, it really appeals to me that this is an academy that operates on an all-island basis. Because on a purely practical level, and I don't talk about this from an emblems point of view, we need to be doing much more together on the island of Ireland when it comes to research, innovation, and higher education. And I really look forward to continuing to work with the Academy on that. I think it's fair to say that the COVID-19 crisis has vividly illustrated the benefits of research and its necessity as a resource for public policy. And indeed, I spoke at an Academy seminar recently about this. One of the dividends that must come out of the pandemic is a greater appreciation of expert advice and research, and how we embed that expert advice in policy making. Quite frankly, we don't do enough of it in this country. As a minister, I very much recognize that. The need, ministers can be generalists. Even our brilliant civil service can be generalists. We need to have an ability to bring in experts and to embed research and to have evidence-based policy as well. So drawing lessons from the very difficult experience of the last year, it is clear that we need to do more to help policymakers access and use the wealth of research produced right across the spectrum in our higher education system. And we also need to assist researchers in understanding the research needs of policymakers. We can't just operate in silos. We need to perhaps have a greater understanding of each other and how we can work together and collaborate in meeting each other's needs. I think it's fair to say achieving this objective will require a range of actions at different levels, from researchers to higher education institutions and to policymakers. And I'm really delighted to note that the Academy and the Irish Research Council, two bodies under the remit of my department, are working together on a roadmap to progress these issues, and I very much look forward to receiving that paper also. Another important initiative that the Academy is currently progressing is the development of a Young Academy for Ireland. And when the Young Academy is established later this year, it will provide a forum for early career researchers to discuss their priorities and to seek to inform public policy, including on the issues that most affect them. I'm really pleased to see that the Academy has committed to an independent review of diversity in its membership processes. And I think this is a very important and welcome commitment by the Academy to broaden even further the diversity of its membership in the years ahead. Research plays a crucial role in the development of a knowledge economy, but not just an economy. It plays a crucial role in the development of society, in the well-being of all of us individually and collectively, and in tackling the challenges we face. One of the most significant forms of transfer of knowledge to industry is through the transfer of people. It is the people who conduct the research and work in companies that drive innovative performance. And research activity across the spectrum of research fields is pivotal to maintaining a vibrant research ecosystem. The first statement of strategy of my new department is a clear articulation of our commitment to support, strengthen and better fund the national research and innovation ecosystem and position Ireland as a leading knowledge-driven economy. We've got a lot of work to do in this area. I think as we look at even global tax policies changing, we need to strengthen our offering when it comes to research innovation. It is the talent and ingenuity of our people that will secure our future economic and societal well-being. And we'll very shortly be announcing a public consultation on our new research strategy for Ireland, a successor strategy to Innovation 2020. And I really would contribute all of you in the Academy and all on this call to contribute your views. I want to hear from you, the experts, on how we can continue to advance Ireland's research and innovation system. But this evening is a night of congratulations, gratitude, celebration. Celebration for Professor Mary Daly and Professor Dan Bradley, the very deserving winners of this year's gold medals from the Academy. And I'm delighted that through these Academy gold medals, we're able to acknowledge and come together, at least virtually, to thank you for your outstanding achievements, hard-earned over a lifetime of passionate commitment to the highest standards in scholarship. And I've no doubt your work not only will have contributed so positively to Irish society, but also will inspire, I hope, the next generation of research leaders in our country as well. I wish you both every continued success, and it's been a great honour to share in this celebration and this evening with you. Thank you very much.
Minister, thank you so much for that address. It is wonderful for us in the Academy that you're here with us. It is wonderful that you recognise the role of the Academy and the role of science and humanities, and that these are not just abstract, but they are actually part of the well-being of our society in general. We're very proud in the Academy of our All-Ireland role, and particularly now also of our connections with Scotland and Wales, which I think, given the sort of political news we're seeing these days, these linkages are ones we're looking forward to strengthening. We look forward to continuing to work with you, and we thank you very much. And I would now like to proceed with the reading of the citations for this evening's gold medals. I would like to invite Professor Dan Carey, the Humanities Secretary, to read the citation for the 2020 Royal Irish Academy Gold Medalist in the Humanities, Professor Mary E.Daly.
Thank you, President. Mary Daly is an internationally recognized scholar whose path-breaking research has had a transformative impact on Irish historiography. She's also been a remarkable academic leader, both in University College Dublin and in the Royal Irish Academy. Emeritus Professor of Irish History at University College Dublin, Mary Daly has had a truly groundbreaking impact on the writing of 19th and 20th century Irish history. She has succeeded spectacularly in her lifelong goal of broadening the scholarly account of Ireland's past from a traditional focus on high politics, nationalism, unionism, and Anglo-Irish relations, while also making discerning contributions in these fields. Her approach represents a significant challenge to current and future historians to leave their disciplinary silos and seek a more integrated understanding and approach to the writing of history. Professor Daly is a remarkably prolific author. She is the sole author of 10 books, as well as numerous articles and book chapters. Her research interests range widely from women's history, the history of marriage and family, and migration to economic development, state formation, and citizenship. Taken as a whole, this formidable body of scholarship combines social, economic, and political analysis in an original and often provocative interpretation of Irish history in the late 19th and 20th centuries. A preeminently archives-driven historian, Professor Daly has, in her publications, displayed a consistent record of rich and extensive archival research. Her pioneering 1984 book, Dublin, the Deposed Capital, A Social and Economic History, 1860 to 1914, was the first major work on the urban history of 19th century Ireland and the first to use state records from the Chief Secretary's office as a source for social and economic history. Professor Daly also played an influential role in the opening up of archives, in particular the National Archives of Ireland. In the late 1980s and 90s, she made that contribution. The availability of this material meant that the history of post-independence Ireland could now be written from primary sources, and Professor Daly took full advantage of the newly available material. An early example of this is her 1992 monograph, Industrial Development and Irish National Identity, 1922 to 1939, that was one of the first publications on 20th century Ireland to be based on government papers. It's a tour de force of erudition and of skillful weaving of different sorts of history. Professor Daly's more recent work includes publications such as 60s Ireland, Reshaping the Economy, State and Society, 1957 to 73, published in 2016, and The Slow Failure, Population Decline in Independent Ireland, 1920 to 73, published in 2006. These are models of archival research that reach out far beyond their roots in debate within government departments to transform our understanding of everyday lived experience in post-war Ireland and its UK diaspora. In her research and writing, Professor Daly has sought to examine and often challenge some of the more simplistic assumptions about modern Ireland, such as Irish exceptionalism or the exaggerated economic and social revolution of the Lemass era. Consequently, her publications demonstrate a strong commitment to viewing Irish history in an international or transnational context. Professor Daly's impact on the study of modern Irish economic and social history is therefore immense. And most importantly, it is continuing. Throughout her career, she has also taught, supported, and mentored a significant number of history students at undergraduate, postgraduate, and postdoctoral levels, inspiring current and future generations of historians. In addition to her intellectual contribution to Irish historical studies, Mary Daly has been an influential leader in higher education in Ireland and in Irish society indeed more generally. As the founding director of the Humanities Institute of Ireland, latterly the UCD Humanities Institute, she created a vibrant and transformative research community for postgraduate scholars in the humanities. She has been a member of a number of prominent government bodies and advisory groups and boards, including the Higher Education Authority, the Irish Manuscripts Commission, and the Decade of Centenaries Expert Advisory Group. Most recently, her membership of the Commission of Investigation into Mother and Baby Homes brought together her knowledge of 20th century Irish social history, her archival expertise, and her deep commitment to public service. The final report of the commission included the most comprehensive analysis yet to be published of the wide societal context in which the institutionalization of single mothers was normalized. Elected to membership of the Royal Irish Academy in 1991, Professor Daly served as vice president in 1996 to 97, and again in 2008 to 9. She was a member of council from 1997 to 2000, 2007 to 8, and 2009 to 11, and was Academy Secretary between 2000 and 2004. In 2014, she was elected as the first female president of the Academy. As an active and imaginative president, she championed many programs and events. Among them, her support for the Conference on Making Peace in Ireland, which has now been recorded in an Academy publication, brokering the Good Friday Agreement, The Untold Story. The profile of women members was greatly raised by her election as president, and her determination to increase the number of female MRIAs has borne fruit, and those efforts continue in the Academy today. In summary, Mary Daly's academic and public service record amply fulfill all the criteria for one of the Academy's highest honors. I now invite the President to award the 2020 Royal Irish Academy Gold Medal in the Humanities to Professor Mary E. Daly.
Thank you, Professor Carey. On behalf of the Minister and the Academy, Professor Mary E. Daly, I award you the 2020 Royal Irish Academy Gold Medal in the Humanities. Congratulations. And I invite you to say a few words. You're showing us the medal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'd really like to begin with just a minute's silence so that I can gather my emotions, my feelings after that remarkable address by the Humanities Secretary, Daniel Carey. I want to thank everybody involved in this ceremony, beginning with President Mary Canning, Dan Carey, of course, the Humanities Secretary, the members of the committee, all the Academy members who've been involved in this process, the selection committee. I just want to name two members, particularly James Maguire and Orla Feely, who prepared my nomination, which is a very time-consuming process. I also want to thank Aisling Roach and all the Academy staff who've had to work with this in the difficult times that we are all living with. And I want to say I'm particularly delighted that the guest of honour today, this evening, is Minister Simon Harris, the first Cabinet Minister for Higher Education. Because, Minister, I hope you realise that the Academy was campaigning for quite a while to get a Cabinet Minister around the table who would reflect the importance of higher education research in today's Ireland. So it's particularly special that you are here this evening with us. This award, I'm going to be rather pompous about it. This award, I think, reflects not just an award to me, but an award that affirms the value of curiosity-driven research in all disciplines. And I want to include my fellow awardee, Dan Bradley, in this, but especially in the humanities. Research is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And it is a process that requires researchers to study long and hard, develop expertise, carry out all kinds of investigations, and reflect and challenge the findings of those investigations. And I think it is an exercise that we need to affirm and value in today's world, where a lot of the social media give huge importance to emotion, to opinion, and to instant judgments. These do not work particularly well in scholarly research. And the other thing that we require at the time is nuance, qualification, and a certain degree of uncertainty and hesitation as to our findings. But I also think that we have a lot to offer, and while humanities doesn't necessarily bring the immediate economic dividends, I think we can provide an awful lot of information and advice and wisdom to society. The Minister very kindly mentioned my Dublin, the Deposed Capital book, published in 1984. Minister, if 12 months ago you and your cabinet ministers had time in this pandemic to sit down and read it, you would have encountered a city that was in crisis a lot of the time with epidemic diseases such as cholera, smallpox, and others. And these diseases did prompt a major change in social organisation, migration to the suburbs, a loss of population in the city centre. And if you'd read further, and similarly, if you look at work I've done on infant mortality in the pre-antibiotics age, you would have discovered the lessons of our ancestors, which were the importance of social distancing, dealing with overcrowding, the importance also of isolation of people, and the importance of sanitation. So without trumpeting it too much, I just want to say that the past can teach us lessons that may be of value to our modern times. Now, I just want to end by just thanking everybody again for this remarkable honour, a special message to family members who may be watching from different parts of the world. And finally, the medal. My grandchildren think it's treasure, and so do I.
Thank you very much, Professor Daly. Mary, would you like to show us the medal? Do you have it there?
I thought I did, but I will, yes.
Thank you again. I now invite Professor Catherine Godson, Science Secretary, to read the citation for the 2020 Royal Irish Academy Gold Medalist in the Life Sciences, Professor Daniel Bradley.
Thank you, President, and good evening, Minister and guests. Professor Daniel Bradley holds a personal chair in population genetics at the Smurfit Institute of Genetics, Trinity College, Dublin, where he's head of the School of Genetics and Microbiology. Dan has been active in population genetics and genomics research since the early 1990s, when his group was one of the first to use molecular techniques to study diversity, adaptation, and biogeography in both human and domestic animal populations. His work has demonstrated that the origins of cattle herding in Europe lay in wholesale importation of animals from Anatolia. Recent work with consortia of archaeozoological partners published the first two extensive ancient genome analyses in cattle and goats, showing mosaic origins within the primary domestication regions of the Fertile Crescent, with subsequent population mobility and admixture driven by climate change. An example of Dan's pragmatism and imagination was the use of medieval parchment as substrate for the study of livestock genomics. Professor Bradley has participated in the applied animal genomics community over many years, including contributing to the analysis of the first complete referenced bovine genome sequence. His group has made significant contributions to the genetics of infectious disease susceptibility in cattle. This work has impacted the Irish Cattle Genetic Improvement Programme through estimation of sire breeding values for disease resistance. Within the context of human health, Professor Bradley has worked with clinical colleagues to study the genetics of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis or motor neuron disease. The Bradley Laboratory discovered the remarkable DNA preservation qualities of the petrous bone and have exploited this discovery to focus on the generation of high coverage ancient genomes. This breakthrough work included the sequencing of the first ancient African samples and a transect through Hungarian prehistory, uncovering dramatic genome transitions at the outset of the Neolithic and prior to the Bronze Age, and early examples of a fourth strand of European ancestry based on the genomes of Caucasus hunter-gatherers. He also initiated and has consistently led the study of ancient DNA in Ireland, which during the past decade has matured into paleogenomic analysis that is revolutionizing our understanding of prehistory in Europe and across the globe. Publication of the first prehistoric Irish genomes by the Bradley Group showed that the migration associated with the Central European Neolithic and Bronze Age archaeological horizons extended to Britain and Ireland. Irish genomes also contained the hemochromatosis mutations that give this region the maximum risk for this condition today. These are the only human Mendelian disease alleles directly described in prehistory to this point. A recent, more comprehensive study of the Irish Neolithic discovered a son of a brother-sister union from the centre of Newgrange. These investigations also reveal the earliest recorded incidence of trisomy 23, Down syndrome. This discovery of a brother-sister union argues for the existence of a previously unappreciated social elite, described in the press as an Irish pharaoh. The ability to apply novel sequencing methodologies as pioneered by Dan Bradley and his colleagues has provided a novel direction in studies of ancient DNA, advancing beyond broad patterns of human migration to structures of specific communities. Professor Bradley's distinctive and original research on the interface between mammalian genomics, archaeology, and anthropology has attracted international recognition that is really remarkable in the context of the niche that his work occupies. He's made outstanding contributions to the scientific literature and published more than 170 peer-reviewed papers in the foremost scholarly journals, including Nature and Science. His research work has attracted significant attention from international media. Last year's New York Times article entitled DNA of Irish Pharaoh Sheds Light on Ancient Tomb Builders was a very gripping read and a good example of this. He has received multiple highly competitive research awards, including from Science Foundation Ireland, from the Wellcome Trust and the European Research Council. He was elected a Fellow of Trinity College Dublin in 2000, a member of the Royal Irish Academy in 2009. He is a member of the Scientific Committee for the International Society of Biomolecular Archaeology conference, which will be held this year in Toulouse. He's a member of the Teagasc Foresight Steering Committee. He was 5 times juror in the European Contest for Young Scientists and has served as an expert consultant on genetic distance and biodiversity to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Professor Bradley is also a member of the Irish Natural History Museum Sampling Advisory Panel. As we heard earlier from the Minister, Dan Bradley has also been adept at translating fundamental population genetics research into practical application. He co-founded Identigen, a Trinity College spin-out. Identigen is a world-leading animal genomics company with almost 100 employees based at multiple international locations. Identigen's Traceback platform is in widespread use by major retailers, food service providers, and food processors to proactively manage the supply chain. In 2013, Identigen Technologies revealed the horse meat contamination of the European food chain, and the commercial success of Identigen is evidenced by its recent acquisition. Most importantly, throughout his career, Professor Bradley has prioritized the advancement of early career researchers. He has supervised 30 PhD students to completion, and he's highly regarded as a fair, exacting, and inspiring mentor. Past lab members include chairs, professors, and deans, CEOs of biotech startups, and those directing national research policy and strategy. The assessment criteria which are applied to those nominated for gold medal awards of the Royal Irish Academy include their original, insightful scholarly achievements, international impact, and leadership within the academic community. Professor Dan Bradley's contributions in all of these domains is truly outstanding. I now invite the President to award the 2020 Royal Irish Academy Gold Medal in the Life Sciences to Professor Dan Bradley.
Thank you, Professor Godson. On behalf of the Minister and the Academy, Professor Daniel Bradley, I award you the 2020 Royal Irish Academy Gold Medal in the Life Sciences. Congratulations, and I invite you to say a few words.
It's a great honor to receive this medal, especially when you consider the company I'm keeping in previous recipients, and also all the other terrific life scientists that are now working in Ireland. And I thank the President and the Academy members and Academy staff for this. I'd also like to thank Minister Harris and the Science Secretary for their very kind words, and also my two nominators, David McHugh and Emma Teeling. One aspect of the life sciences is that it's really a team game, especially a big data field like my own, which is genomics. And I've worked in the genetics department at Trinity for some 30 years, and I would say definitely the biggest thrill in that has been to work with really smart and committed and enthusiastic young people. And I've worked with as talented a group of people as you would encounter anywhere in the world, in any institution. So I'm very grateful to all my wonderful research team members, both past and present. And the team extends upwards in age as well. I want to thank my two mentors, Peter Humphreys, who was my PhD supervisor, and Paddy Cunningham, longtime co-worker. And they, together with others, such as David McConnell, they built an ecosystem in our department where it was not only possible, but expected that we would compete scientifically internationally at the top level. And now, thanks to Science Foundation Ireland, the IRC, we now have research at the cabinet table, as we heard earlier. It's possible to keep the brightest and best of our own people and from elsewhere here in Ireland. And as the Minister absolutely was correct in saying, innovation comes from people. And if we don't have those people here, innovation will not happen. And from our lab, we had one successful piece of innovation. We had a spin-out Identigen, which was driven by two lab members who were young and bright. At least they were young and bright at the time. They're a bit older now. Now, my work in population genetics is a field that has a wide reach, and it has varied from research in various serious human diseases to collaboration and interaction with the field of archaeology by sequencing the genomes of people and animals that lived thousands of years ago. And I recall once at a promotion committee interview, one of the panelists asked me, he said, you're working in cattle, sheep, goat, chickens, pigs, dogs, and Irish people. And where's the focus? You know, what's the story? And the story is actually that they are all part of one large story, and that's the interaction between humans and animals since domestication in farming. And it's a very critical story. The genetics and the origins of that are the story of something that underpins our civilization and underpins our way of life. And but when I was asked that, something else occurred to me, and that is I was actually working on all the species that were there on the family farm where I grew up in County Derry. And the farmer in that farm was also Dan Bradley, my late father, and his name is on this too. And together with my mother, Bridget, they are the people that I owe the most to. And I would finish by saying that I'm very grateful. This is the singular honor of my career.
Thank you very much, Professor Bradley. Before bringing our ceremony to a close, once again, I wish to thank the Minister, Simon Harris, for his address, where he recognized the relevance and the academic excellence of the Royal Irish Academy. I want to congratulate our medalists, Professor Mary E.Daly and Professor Daniel Bradley. Thanks also to Humanities Secretary, Professor Dan Carey, and to our Science Secretary, Professor Catherine Dodson, who read the citations. I want to say a particular thank you to our Senior Vice President, Professor Jerry McKenna, to the chairs of the awarding committees, Professor Catherine Dodson and Professor Mary O'Dowd, and to the members of the awards committees who participated in the long work of the assessment process, and to our external international assessors whose assistance in this process is greatly valued. Finally, I'd like to thank you all for joining us for our virtual awarding ceremony. We hope that next year it will happen in Academy House. Good evening and thank you.